Welcome to the ONS podcast with your host, Linnea Jacobson.
Welcome back, you guys. It's the ONS podcast. ONS stands for Office of Neighborhood Safety. I'm your host, Linnea Jacobson, and I'm part of the ONS team. This podcast was created for departments like ours and community organizations to come on and talk about our services. All of our episodes are about connecting you to alternative public safety measures, programs, and your local growth and healing opportunities. And again, good morning or afternoon or evening, whenever you're watching or listening. Today we are connecting with ONS Director Blakey. Welcome, Brooke.
Hi, Linnea.
As a reminder, Brooke Blakey is a Northwestern graduate who studied at Law Enforcement Executive Development Association, better known as FBI LEDA, and Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the BCA. Brooke has an undergraduate degree in child psychology and criminology from the university and once served in Ramsey County Public Defender's Office.
Yes. It was the best job ever.
Was it?
Besides this one.
At Ramsey County?
I love my PD friends.
Really?
I do. But I tell people, I got paid to be nosy all day long. It was the best job ever besides this one. I mean, if I had to go back and choose jobs and rank them, I would definitely say this is one, but that was two.
Okay. We never talked about that.
Man, best job ever.
Okay. On August 22nd, 2024, I recorded our first episode of ONS Podcast, and one of my guests was Director Blakey. Our office was 2.5 years old. I wrote down because I think that's what time it was,
yes.
how old it was at the time, and we were still building as we were partnering with our public safety partners to intercept violence. It's been a little over 3.5 years as of today's date since we started the department. Yep. Well, since life came.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And what a difference a year makes. ONS has done so many things to change the way we look at alternative public safety initiatives, and we've done it under the leadership of Director Blakey. So thank you.
Nothing but a team. We've been nothing but an amazing team.
For those of you out here fighting the good fight with us, you know that inside of this work, it can sometimes be draining mentally, and you experience burnout and you become tired. Loving people can be exhausting, true. Caring about community and trying to come up with all the answers, sometimes it does take the wind out of your cape, and you have to replenish yourself, and you do this by taking a break sometimes. So on episode 1, when I asked Director Blakey, cape or no cape with your superhero suit, she answered cape because she is a fan of accessories. But the truth is, and first of all, we're going to be Johnson & Johnson. There's no tears on this episode, okay? No tears,
we'll
Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson, okay.
The truth is, Brooke answered cape because she is addicted to partnering in problem solving.
Absolutely.
And that's what I have diagnosed her with. She is the person that wants to fix everything to make the world a better place. She wants to see progress. She wants to help others, so she jumps right in, feet first, superhero costume, cape, and all. But she never takes it off. Now, Batman shows up as Bruce Wayne. Spider-Man shows up as Peter Parker. But Brooke always shows up wholeheartedly as Brooke Blakey. 24 hours, 7 days a week. B.
Yes.
Are you ready to take your cape off for a little bit?
I am. It is, it's bittersweet.
Yeah.
No Johnson & Johnson.
No
It's bitter and sweet, but I'm going to take it off and pass it to my team. So as you talk about superheroes, every superhero has a cast with them. Batman had Robin, mm-hmm. Superman had Lois, mm-hmm. all of those people. So really what I'm doing is I am saying that my team, who has kept my ability to be that superhero, I'm passing that cape on to them. And so as I sit down and take a breath, mm-hmm. I know that I am leaving my cape in very amazing hands. So this Johnson & Johnson thing is going to be super hard, Linnea, because as
sorry.
you know, no, it's okay. As you know, I am just very passionate about the work.
That part.
And about the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Because they make it fun. Like, I'm loving this podcast. This was one of the things that you were like, I want to do this. And I was like, absolutely, Linnea, you have the voice for it. You have the face for it. And as we're being videoed for this one, but also you have the brains that go with it. And so as one of my first hires,
Yeah.
because unbeknownst to this, you were my first hire.
Yeah.
It is one of those things that I'm very proud of. And so as we take off those capes and have our Johnson & Johnson moment, because we are going to get through this podcast.
Yeah. Can we get some Kleenex, Anton? Because I got on way too much eye makeup. I'm going to be sitting over here looking like a raccoon. Anton, at some point, if I got to be on camera, you got to be on camera.
He's like the hand from the Addams Family. It just
Right.
brings tissues in and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So we're done with our Johnson & Johnson moment. I will keep it together from this point forward. But yes, the cape I am passing on because I have a cast of superheroes. So I have some Wonder Women.
Yeah.
Some Wonder Women, and then after a while we were like, let's add some testosterone to the mix. And so I have some quiet hawks in the room.
They are quiet.
They are.
The guys are all quiet.
They are, but they are hawks.
Yeah.
They are. They do some of that most heavy lifting in those spaces. And so I've been supported by a cast of superheroes through all of this. So I feel confident in taking a rest because I know I'm leaving it in good hands.
How many hours of sleep do you think you're going to get over the next few weeks? Because that was another question I had asked you.
It's going to take some retraining. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be up looking at my phone like, why is no one calling me? And it's going to be hard to not be like, y'all, what's happening? I have already shut off my text message stream, so I'm not going to get those.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, I got to do it now. Mm-hmm. Like, wean me off.
Okay,
It can't be abrupt.
Little baby steps. So you don't start shaking.
Right. But I am looking forward to a full night of sleep. I don't think I've had one in 20 years. So it's going to be
I believe that.
It's going to be nice to just be like, okay. I mean, my kid is at home. My mom will be there. So I'll just be like, all the people that I need to be worried about are in my space.
I have a scenario for you.
Okay.
It's 9 a.m. on Monday morning. The house is quiet. Breland is at a sleepover at her cousin's. Aaliyah and Minnie Donut are settled into their new place. Miss Carolyn is in Florida living her best life as usual.
True.
It's just you, the walls, the quiet house. What is the first thing you're going to cook for breakfast for yourself?
The first thing I'm going to cook is some cinnamon toast with some peanut butter on it. And then I'm going to sit down and watch the first 48.
Oh, no, you can't watch police shows. You can't watch police shows.
Actually, I'm probably going to watch Motown and Magic. It's actually a cartoon that I've fallen in love with.
Okay.
Hanging out with Minnie Donut. So
I was going to say, okay.
Followed up later by some first 48.
What uniform are you going to wear after you take off your superhero suit?
Ooh. I am in my knit life
Okay.
right now. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have some monochromic, because you taught me well, some monochromic knit. And, of course, my sneakers, because that part ain't going to change. But, yeah, I'm living in my knit life.
I feel like it's something that happens to us after 40. Like, we just want... Actually, you told me that.
Elastic waistband, girl.
You told me that, I want to say it was probably like 12 years ago. You came in with some sneakers on, and you was like... And I had on heels. And you said, you're going to get a certain age where all you're going to want to wear is sneakers. And that happened to me. Sneakers and sweats.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a little bit more sophisticated and get to
A little bit more.
that knit, but
Okay.
yeah.
I love it. Okay. So one of the questions I had prepared, but I think you answered this already, was, is your cape going to become like my wedding dress, folded up in a box, and you keep thinking about how you should see if someone can fit it or put it on eBay, or if you're going to pass it on? And you said you're going to pass it on to your team.
I'm going to pass it on to my team because it doesn't need to sit in a closet. I mean, it's worn, but it has some good soul with it. So I used to tell people when they talked about my dad, and I was like, I'm cut from the same cloth, but I'm sewn a little differently. And so as I'm passing on that cape, there's more people who can add to it and can sew into things. And so they're not me, and I have no expectations of them to be me, but it still has some room to grow. And it has spaces and has some patches that it can heal and fix. But passing it along definitely, because it's got more work to do, but I don't need to be the one doing it.
Okay. First question. So when we recorded together on the first time, August 22nd, 2024, I had you explained who we are at ONS. Who we are has not changed, but our work has evolved, taken on many more projects, many more crises, and forming many more relationships. So my question to you is, can you please compare the beginning stages of our office to where we are now?
So I think in the beginning, we were solely focused on gun violence. We had gotten our marching orders, from the mayor and from community about reducing gun violence and carjackings and that tangible crime that they're seeing every day. And so we just jumped in headfirst into that, and we were like, gun violence. We talked to national leaders. We looked at our data, and we were like, this is where we're going to start. So we jumped right into the gun violence work, and we were like, okay, how do we impact that? How do we make a difference? We were raw. We were a small but nimble team. And so that was our first thing. We just tackled gun violence, and we were like, put our head down, and we were like, everything else will start to fall into place if we start there. And so bought in a small team, and was like, I went out there and I was like, okay, who's doing this, but who also understands that we have to still do it with our law enforcement partners. Because if you remember, one of the things that I said when I came and talked to the mayor was, I'm not interested in anything that's defund the police, because that's not helpful. I can be honest. So if we're not on defund the police, I think we can really make a difference. And so came in, talked to the chief, and was like, you have a job to do, and I don't want to do your job because I've been at your job. I said, but I have a different job. But if we support each other in the work that we do, I think we can get some things done. And he was in agreement. Most people ask, like, what was the biggest thing you thought? And I was like, most people would probably have perceived police, but it wasn't the police. And so it was really probably more internal systems that are just not accustomed to change. And so that was probably the biggest thing. But gun violence is where we just jumped right in. We were like, look, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. And we kind of left it in that space, and we just moved full steam ahead from there.
And how does that compare to like where we are now? Because I know we've got our hands in a lot, right? I
think now we've just expanded the lens, because what we found was we were very pinpoint on gun violence, but then we started to look at what was causing gun violence, and we saw those underlying social determinants. So we saw housing and quality housing, because some people are housed, but the quality of the housing and the affordability of it was an issue. Then we started to see where opioid and drug addiction and those things. Then we saw mental health and what were those things. And so then we also saw that there were a lot of community partners that had been doing the work but weren't getting supported, didn't know how to formalize that work, how to really look at what the data was telling us. We generally follow rhetoric. And so we were like, all these black males and da-da-da. But what we found was that, yes, that's still a high proportionate, because that's what social determinants are focusing. But we found education. We found young women that were experiencing a ton of violence against each other. We will always assume domestic violence, but we found other things. So our lens opened, and so we started to do just a lot of different things. We were doing reentry because we were having young folks that were coming back from juvenile correction back into that. We saw our elderly population that was just kind of being left behind. And we engaged in that, and then we have our unsheltered or poorly sheltered individuals that have lots of needs. And so ONS really became the fix it, which makes sense because I'm a fixer. So it was just the opportunity to be like, let me put my hands in everything. So everything from economic development to parks and rec to libraries to housing to public works. I mean, we were doing copper. I was getting, bees nests out of trees and
putting up video.
And putting up video.
True story. Literally, picture Brooke on a ladder with videos trying to attach them to buildings and stuff. True story.
Yeah. So I mean, we got into everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott could use your help right now too, because that's what he's trying to do at the house.
All righty. Well, I got a ladder.
We've grown so much, as you know. Anytime you're creating or building something new, there are bumps, bruises, roadblocks, obstacles you have to climb over, valleys you have to fly over. What are some of the challenges and growing pains that that we dealt with?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is operating in a local government system. The realities of it is local government and government isn't going anywhere. And so it's super important to build those relationships as well. So a lot of the work we're building community and connection relationships, but building some of those internal relationships. The number of times people are like, we're not sure what you do and why do you do what it is that you do? And you're like, so let me tell you about this. Yeah, I know it's probably forestry, but hey, I need this thing moved because this thing affects this thing that affects this thing. So, and just people realizing and setting up that when you're fixing all of the things that you're fixing, that it's just it's a different thing. So that was one of the first barriers, is just the consistent, constant having to explain our existence and why we were there. Yeah. I think eventually our work started to speak for itself, and people started calling us and was like, well, ONS this and ONS that. And I'm like, okay.
They were calling all the time.
Calling all the time. And we were like, we got it. Well, we got it. We'll show up here. So I think that was that initial component of it. I think just the other barriers is just people want things immediately.
Right.
And so I know that the mayor had put a ton of money and effort into developing the office, going through the work with the Citizens League, coming up with a whole manuscript of ideas. And people were like, okay, now you did it. Now go.
Right.
And when you're like, okay, I got to prove myself, but also we want to do it right so that it stays. And so one of the biggest things that I learned is just asking for grace and sometimes just demanding it. I'm like, I know what you want and I hear you loud and clear.
But it takes time.
But it takes time if I do it right. Now I can do it half and we're going to be back in the same position. And so I reminded people, I was like, hey, the police department and the fire department have had over 100 years and they still get things wrong and no one is like, hurry up with them. And so wanted to make sure that ONS was given that same grace and ability to really get a foothold in and do the work. And so, I mean, I feel like I'm seeing the progress there, the foundation. And anytime you build a house, you want to make sure it has a strong foundation, or even I've talked about, you've heard me, I'm calling it a race. I feel like we're in a relay race, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a strong lead, right? Out, and we're running that race.
Yeah.
We're running that race and we're passing the baton, but you got to have that first person out the blocks
Has to be
fast and get that lead. And then, that second person can kind of like let up just a little bit, keep maintaining that lead. And that third leg is coming, and I feel like we're in the third leg of the race. We got a really good lead, and we've been keeping it really strong in those first 3 years, and now we're on the third leg of that race. And I think we can't end zone dance, but we've had some really super great successes that we can talk about. But it's a marathon; it's not a sprint.
That's a good analogy. One of the questions I asked you in our first episode also was, when you first came on, what were the issues you knew we needed to tackle first? But I think that we kind of went over that with the gun violence, because that was one of the things. But can you tell our audience some of the things that we were tasked with tackling after gun violence?
So after gun violence, we were asked to tackle some of the unsheltered work. Chris Michaels came in from Catholic Charities to ONS. She was hanging out in PED beforehand, but we were like, this is a better space for you, for the work that we were seeing with some of the quality of life work that was happening. And so Chris came over to lead that work. Faith, who leads our GVI work, is doing and is continuing to do such an exemplary job that we wanted to take the successes that we had with GVI and see if we could apply those same principles to our unsheltered quality of life work. And so we've been asked now to really dig deep into the quality of life, what's happening on our major corridors, and folks that are experiencing opioid and substance use addiction, as well as mental health. And so we've been put into that. We were doing a lot of victim services components, and victim services for a lot of things, not just gun violence, which is where we started. We have been helping families that were affected by fire, folks that were displaced by closing buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have had our hands in
everything.
And so, like I said, when that lens opens, that aperture is big, and you start to see such a bigger picture of things. And so I think we have been tasked with doing things outside of gun violence reduction. And because we've been successful in bringing down gun violence, now we do more things with schools and a lot more of that upstream preventative work now we're getting into. Our Goals Not Guns obviously is an amazing component of the work that we're seeing done. And so we're just like, it's just expansive. And I say we were the pregnancy.
But now you're happy.
And now we are the toddler. Actually, we're getting ready to go to kindergarten.
And everybody's like, that baby's so cute.
Yes, exactly. We were a little concerned in the beginning. You know, when we all look at that newborn and be like, look at their toes. And now here we are, and we're like, yes, exactly. That baby is so cute.
That baby's thriving,
getting ready to go to kindergarten, and probably has one of the mayor's college saving funds as well. Plug to the mayor.
Shout out to Mayor Carter. Community first public safety is still a new idea in how we deploy our public safety response, right? What is the biggest misconception you've encountered under your leadership about our approach, that people presume about our approach, and what do you want people to know instead?
I think the biggest misconception is that we are there to replace the police, and or that we are in lockstep with the police, and that we're like we snitch for them and things like that. And I think the biggest thing is that what we are talking about is just community first public safety is non-traditional public safety. And what we're saying is that the police have a place in our space, but there are also alternatives that are just as appropriate and logical, and that it's team-based. They are our colleagues in this work, and that they don't wake up in the morning going, I want to do this. They're like, there's someone else better that can do that. And so if I can help you be safe while you're doing that thing, absolutely. But there are some people that at the end of the day, they need that time out. Yeah. As you hear me talk about it, it's like a child. Like there's some, they keep touching that fire, and every once in a while you need to smack their hand on occasion, or you need to be like, you want a timeout. Like I've told you, I've showed you, I've spanked your hand, I've warned you, and now you got to have a timeout. And so there is a place for this work. And in that, if we treat it in the same, just like we treat the fire department, public works, Parks and Rec, ONS, and the work that we do in the non-traditional things is just part of that whole package. It's on that tool belt. And so we have to stop believing that it's something different and that it's not worthy of being funded or funded the same way. And so that's the biggest misconception. And so really, as we go across, as we talk about our successes and things like that, like we have had 8 homicides. That is a 33% drop. And we've had a 73% clearance rate for the non-fatal shootings. And a lot of people attribute that to the police department, which I do too, because they're doing their work, but we're working with them because guess what? People are talking now because they understand that we're talking about safety. We're talking about keeping the community safe. We're talking about there not being these like mass, back in the day, somebody gets shot and then what happens, right? You get the police to come and everybody's everything, right? They're in everybody's business. This is the opportunity for us to come in as people who live in the community, people who have experienced some of these things and be able to talk to individuals and be like, hey, this is what's happening. This is why it's happening. This is why you need to tell and give information. It's not you snitching on anybody or anything. It's you actually keeping your community safe because you're not bringing in this swath of just oppression and things like that as people try to solve things. But also we bring the ability to translate what's happening.
That part,
to people. It's like, it's not, well, why they got to know that? And there's my name going to show up here. And why are you asking these questions? And I'm like, you want the person who has harmed you to be held responsible. Community is saying, hey, we don't want this stuff happening in our community. And so with ONS being there and the work that we're doing with Project Peace and even the work that we're doing with Familiar Faces and our Unsheltered is the ability to translate and connect people to services and systems that haven't changed in the times and are slowly getting there, but some are just so deeply rooted in who we are as a community, as a city, as a state, as a country, that the translation needs to happen. So I mean, I love to use the inference of like the baby. It's like sometimes you need somebody to translate that goo goo gaga, like it means something, and only certain people know what that actually means. And so I feel ONS is like the master translator. So not only the fixer, but a translator to all of the things and the connector.
We are the liaison.
To the work.
Name some other highlights. We talked about gun violence being down.
Goals, not guns. Come on now.
Yes.
I mean, we got 3 T-shirts with 3 more to come.
Yes.
We've got schools that are now like,
can we do that again?
We do that again? and just we're like, oh, we didn't realize that we had a connection with World Youth Connect, where we got there are young people in our community now that are Harvard researchers that have that have a project that has been published, and those young people were able to get another $100,000 grant to continue to do those work. That was in the support of ONS supporting them in their grassrootness. We have, hired, and we had young people that have, signed, pledges to stay gun free. Some that have been gun involved before. Those are highlights. I go back to in our Unsheltered work. We have housed 35 hard to house people and Chris got a team of 3. And then, of course, I got to shout out Faith and our GVI work and those life coaches out there that are keeping the retaliation, which is why our gun violence is down. And we are connecting those young folks, and we are working with schools and probation in ways that no one has ever worked with them before. And they are coming to the table because we do what we do, we say what we say, and we stand on those things, and we deliver. And it's a small but mighty team. But those are the things that have kept community safe. And no, we don't stand, out front and be like, hey, look at us, because we also recognize that as we're transforming these young people, that later on they're going to be adults, and there's no reason that somebody can Google you and be like, ooh, was that you? And so, we're being very conscious about how we celebrate
That part.
those wins
Yep.
and talk about it, because it sometimes get exploitive in the quest to have purpose. And so I think sometimes explaining to community when they're like, well, we didn't see. And I'm like, right, because we don't need to tell you everything, but you should feel a little safer.
Right.
I mean, young people are saying they feel a little safer.
Right.
I think the other thing is the collaboration that, we did with, Transit and their homeless action team. I'm going to give my selfless plug to the homeless action team. But anyway, just like the stuff that we did on the Green Corridor and just changing how we engage. And then the works with Parks and Rec is one more thing that in libraries that I'm super proud of, is that, we recognize that they're the public spaces.
Right.
And safety is a thing not only for the people utilizing it, but the staff that's there.
Yeah.
And helping to provide some supports and conversations. And there's still tons and tons of room, to grow with that. So I think about the work that you did with the library specialists and getting that information, the work the NSCC did with Parks and Rec and library and getting those policies and conversations and pieces together. So, I mean, we've done a lot since 2022.
Yes. All under your leadership.
All
Pat yourself
there.
on the back a little bit.
Just a titch, but it's just a thing. It's a thing, and it's I'm definitely proud.
Yeah.
But it's because I had an amazing team to do that. I mean, and even the folks that crunch the numbers.
Yeah.
This is a shout out to Rachel. She's my yin to my yang. You know what I mean? So, but Sharice, who make sure that our office is running smoothly, to Andrew that's over there cracking numbers, and to the new folks that we brought in, I mean, it's just like the team is growing in the spaces that we need, and some of the team that has left. I mean, it's trial and error when you work with people who've got lived experience and things like that. You go, okay, we thought this might have been a good fit, but it's not. But what you did while you were here was impactful.
That part.
And so it's just, we're growing.
What are your aspirations for the Office of Neighborhood Safety as we move forward? And when you answer this, I want you to imagine that the work of ONS continues successful for a whole generation. And in 25 or 30 years, what would St. Paul look like and feel like?
Well, first things first, it would definitely be a standalone office.
Okay.
It would hold its own. It would be equated to a police department. And so when you talk about non-traditional public safety, ONS, it would be the first thing. Like Office of Neighborhood Safety, it would be that. It would be dispatched just like 911 in those spaces. And it wouldn't be a second thought. It wouldn't be talked about as a program or a place or a thing. It would just be naturally, we would be celebrating our 35th anniversary, just like we do the police department. And, there'd be pomp and circumstance about it. And we'd be telling stories about, remember when? And, and those things. There would be, employees of the year. And there would be all of those different awards that come with this.
Round tables and tablecloths.
Yes, round tables and tablecloths. Exactly. And it would be something that would just be the norm.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the 35-year vision of that. I think for me, the short-term vision that I see is in the next 2 to 3 years as we navigate the troubled times that we're in, that it becomes a standalone office. That's the golden thing. I mean, I think we're one step there. We have our own office, which is a legitimate office that has an elevator, and
a kitchen that's already there.
Yes, its own bathrooms, things like that. As the kids say, we started from the bottom. Now we're here. Yes. And so I think that was the natural progression. And so again, like I said, I see it just being one of those things that when cities talk about their departments and what they have, just when they talk about public works, ONSs, and libraries and Parks and Rec, and it's a thing. It's just a thing that every city has. But for the city of St. Paul, it will be the legacy that I left, that it's still there, and that it wasn't me dependent, and that it is just ingrained into the everyday fabric of what the city is.
Thank you. In closing, I want to say thank you to you, Brooke. Over the years that I've known Brooke, she's always stretched herself. And when you see her running here and running there and everywhere to do all the things public safety, a lot of times Brooke has like 50 other things going on in her personal life for her friends and family. Okay, now I'm not gonna. Okay. I can honestly say I am the first person to call B outside of work when I'm going through my own personal crisis or trauma situations. But then I'm also the first person to tell her, Brooke, you don't need to do that. Let someone else handle that. You need to go home and go to sleep. Brooke has pulled our office into many different directions, challenging us to think about how we do alternative public safety and whether or not public safety just belongs to police, fire, and EMT, or does public safety belong to all of the departments and subdivisions within the city of St. Paul, plus community? What is our role outside of our role? What is our position outside of our position description? What are we responsible for as a whole, and what are we responsible for as an individual? The bottom line, St. Paul, is we are out here working really hard to rehabilitate and create safe spaces. With and without Director Blakey, we all have a job to do as part of the machine to build safer neighborhoods. Again, this podcast is about being able to connect you to alternative public safety matters programs and your local growth and healing opportunities. For more information about the Office of Neighborhood Safety or joining the NSCC, check us out at stpaul.gov/ONS.
Thanks, Linnea.
You're